On this week's UBC From Here, graduating students look ahead to entering the job market.
Honestly, I'm thrilled to enter the workforce as soon as possible. It is imperative for career students to have a lot more than just academics behind them to be successful in the workforce.
A fourth-year history student takes a step into the past.
I think most significantly, having the opportunity to work on the sawmill at Vimy Ridge has really changed my perspective on the war effort and has certainly humanized the war for me.
And studying happiness.
People assume that money plays a much larger role than it does. Income is important. Income is linked to life satisfaction and happiness, but much more so at the lower end. So if you don't have enough money to make ends meet, an extra $5,000 a year will make a big difference. But once you go beyond that, it's accounting for maybe 1% of the variance in your happiness.
Welcome to this week's edition of UBC From Here. Hi, I'm Rosemary Jean Thompson. Every year, UBC's Okanagan campus hosts a variety of job fairs designed for upper year students so that they can network and connect with potential employers. We stopped by recently to one of these job fairs to ask students how they're feeling about the current job market.
As a third-year student, I'm feeling pretty nervous about going out there and hitting the real world, trying to find a job.
Being in third year and starting all business classes, it's starting to feel a little bit of pressure of what I want to do, and everyone keeps asking me, oh, are you accounting or HR? But it's tough, but I like it.
I'm feeling a little pressure right now, especially with all the workload and how everyone's saying this is where you need to be.
Honestly, I'm thrilled to enter the workforce as soon as possible. It is imperative for career students to have a lot more than just academics behind them to be successful in the workforce.
I was definitely thinking about a job right away. I graduated with a degree in accounting. So for most accountants, they do recruitment in September. I took a little bit different route, so I didn't do recruitment. So the majority of my colleagues had a job within, by probably October. So come April, I was still looking for a job, and I had a lot of resources actually. Working with Jamie Bazran, she put on a lot of networking events, the career fair for one, different opportunities that the Management Student Association put together, just a lot of different events that brought in outside businesses into the school.
In the Faculty of Management, we actually provide one-on-one resume review, and we do workshops. We run a co-op program for students, how to network. So we try to do a lot of one-on-one time with our students. So if they have career questions or they're wanting to explore their career options, they don't know how, they don't know where to start, they're able to come in and make appointments with us, and we are able to help them navigate the very large job market.
UBC helps a lot. I actually just went to a co-op info session yesterday. They help place us in jobs for the future, and we come back and into the classroom and utilize the stuff that we learned out on the job sites in the classroom. So I think for that, it's going to help in the classroom, and it's going to help me find a job after.
It's very good because here in these sort of like job fairs or career fairs, you come here, you can talk to people. It helps you to get the networking and meet people, and you can talk to them. And stalls like this, that where you can drop in and review your resume, is very important.
Upper level students, a lot of them I think have the skills, the resources behind them. We see some of the biggest problems or some of the issues that they would like help with is how do you translate that? How do you take all the skills that you have and realize they are skills that are transferable to these organizations, and how do you sell yourself?
Because we are such a smaller school here, we're really close-knit. We get that chance to network and meet a lot of new people. So the thing that sets the UBCO students apart is the fact that they are outgoing and you can go talk to them, and they are willing to network and just help anyone out in a grind.
I think UBC is an amazing school. It has a lot of opportunities, it has amazing professors, and yeah, it has a very strong name in the job market.
Since UBC has such a great reputation out there, so I think it gives me like a good competitive advantage.
I'm a UBCO grad. I graduated in April, and actually it was a pretty quick transition. I came right out of school. 10 days after my last final, after graduating, I started work with Tolko. Pretty much how it actually happened was I came to a career fair here, talked to one of the people from Tolko, and they kind of gave me all the information to apply, and 3 weeks later I had an interview, and that led to my new job.
Many students spend their downtime taking a break from their studies, while others use it as an opportunity to enhance their education. For one fourth-year history student, spending time outside of the classroom meant spending time in the trenches of Vimy Ridge.
As a tour guide at these historic sites, Sarah's been in the very tunnels and trenches that are now hallmark news clips. She has spoken with families of veterans, and she has learned firsthand about the sacrifices that those men and women, regardless of which uniform they wore, made for their countries.
My name is Sarah McIntosh, and I'm a fourth-year student here at UBC's Okanagan campus. And 2 years ago, I was offered the opportunity by Veterans Affairs Canada to work overseas at both the Canadian National War Memorial at Vimy Ridge and the Beaumont-Hamel Newfoundland Memorial on the Somme battlefield. My family lived in France, and my parents would take myself and my brother and my sister to the beaches of Normandy. There we'd visit the Canadian and American and German cemeteries. I remember thinking that although they were all different, they were all similar in the fact that they were all the final resting places of soldiers who died fighting for their countries. I think most significantly, having the opportunity to work on the Somme and at Vimy Ridge has really changed my perspective on the war effort and has certainly humanized the war for me. I can remember so many chances that I've had to speak with people that have really, I think, shaped my view of war today and shaped my view of commemoration. For example, I can remember one time when I was at Vimy Ridge and there was a tour group of older folks who came in from England, and there was a woman on the tour. She must have been about 90 years old, and she came to me before she went on a tour and she asked, "Would it be possible for you to look up this family member of mine who fought overseas?" And I said, "Yeah, certainly. While you go on your tour, I'll do some research for you and I'll see what I can find." And when she came back in, I was able to find for her like the tombstone, exactly where he was located, in which cemetery, and I printed off all the information for her. And this poor woman, who, like I said, must have been about 90 years old, just broke down in tears because she was so thrilled at the prospect of finally be able to visit this gravesite. My grandfather was a French Canadian, and he fought with the Royal Canadian Air Force, and he was a bomber engineer. And throughout my life, I'd always wondered what his experience was like and how he felt. And I never understood why he didn't talk to my parents about it or talk to my grandmother about it. But through these experiences, I can now understand that the reason why he was never able to vocalize that was because it was so significant, and he couldn't possibly bring back those memories. And through my opportunity being able to spend time on the battlefields in France, I've really come to understand, not only the realities of war, but the emotional turmoil that comes with that. The military history program here at UBC Okanagan, or the courses in military history, are really still in their infancy. And so for me, having the opportunity to go overseas and work both at Vimy Ridge and at the Beaumont-Hamel Newfoundland Memorial has really allowed me to bring back, I think, kind of a new perspective on military history here. And this year we do have a wonderful new course relating to military history, and it's really allowed me to come back and bring back my experiences into that as well. My mission in a lot of ways is to really help youth to understand in Canada why it's so important to continue commemorating, because like I mentioned, so many feel generationally so far removed. Ultimately, my larger goal would be to pursue a law degree and hopefully to work with either Veterans Affairs Canada or the Department of National Defence. I'd love to work with veterans. That would be a big dream. Alternatively, I would love to be a military historian to teach military history. Unfortunately, he died in 1982 before I was born, but I always wish I would have had the opportunity.
Welcome to UBC's Next Big Thing. I'm Rosemary Jean Thompson, and with me is Dr. Mark Holder. You are an associate professor here at UBC in the Department of Psychology.
That's correct. Thanks for having me here.
Now this year you actually published 2 books. You'll actually find these books on the academic bestsellers list.
Yeah, they're recognized by Springer as being in the top percentiles.
Just briefly talk about what people might find in these books, and then we'll talk about what's up and coming.
Well, what we look at is we're really concerned with what is the medical model. In science, we usually look at deficits. We look at what's wrong with people. And so our research focuses more on people's strengths. what's right with people. And so these books on well-being and the research we do are looking at understanding, measuring, and trying to figure out how we can enhance people's long-term happiness.
What is the biggest misunderstanding about happiness that you're aware of from your research that people might have?
Well, one thing is people assume that money plays a much larger role than it does. Income is important. Income is linked to life satisfaction and happiness, but much more so at the lower end. So if you don't have enough money to make ends meet, an extra $5,000 a year will make a big difference. But once you go beyond that, it's accounting for maybe 1% of the variance in your happiness. So there must be other things that are much more important.
What is up and coming in the way of the research that you've been doing as far as well-being goes?
Well, there's several things we're looking at. One, for children, there's new apps available. These are apps that we're testing now in Alberta. So we have children go to parks and they go on a secret mission. So imagine the app playing like Mission Impossible theme, and you get to go around the park solving this mission. And we're looking to see if it increases not only physical exercise and how much you learn about the parks, but also whether or not it increases your happiness. Another aspect we're looking at is we're looking at community development. In general, communities are built, constructed by urban planners, and they focus on well-being only as far as safety is concerned. But they don't really think, how do we plan and build communities that enhance happiness? We know communities are important to happiness, so we're working with developers now, including down in Peachland, a new development there, New Monaco, to see if we can create an environment that promotes the happiness of people that live and work there.
So what are some of the considerations for increasing that happiness as part of the development there?
Well, that's a great question, and we're looking at aspects of that. For example, porches on the front of your house contribute to happiness more than porches in the back, because you're increasing these social relationships again.
I agree with that. When we grew up, we had a front porch in our house.
And you can do things with that. You can take benches and rather than having them oriented toward a view, have them oriented toward each other. When you have exercise equipment, put that exercise equipment along paths outdoors. It turns out that if people are outside experiencing nature, that enhances their happiness as well. So those are some of the components we look at. Community gardening. Turns out that out of over 20 hobbies people looked at, the hobby that was most highly associated with happiness was gardening. So ways the community can promote that are maybe ways to enhance the happiness of the members of that community.
So how will you measure this?
So what we rely on are things like self-reports. So how happy do you think you are? How hopeful, how optimistic, how grateful, and how satisfied you are with your life? And we have valid, reliable measures of this. But we don't entirely just trust those measures. So to confirm our results, we'll ask significant others as well. So if you're a child, we ask the child about their happiness, but we also ask the child's parents and the child's teachers to report. And usually what happens is those measures agree, so we can be more confident in our assessment of the children's happiness.
Well, that wraps it up for this edition of UBC's Next Big Thing. Until next time, I'm Rosemary Jean Thompson. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
That's it for this week's UBC From Here. For more interesting stories from our campus, visit ubco.tv. I'm Rosemary Jean Thompson. Make it a great week.